The sun was bleeding out across the Texas sky when Caleb's pickup fish-tailed away from the VA clinic lot, leaving nothing but dust and the echo of his slammed door. I stood there, Harold Grant, 72 years young, Purple Heart in my shirt pocket, duffel at my feet, watching the taillights disappear down Highway 290 like a bad memory. Y'all, if this story's already got your boots stomping for more, hit that subscribe button right now. Ring the bell, too, so you never miss a tale. And drop your location in the comments. Where in these United States are you watching from? Austin? Amarillo? Anchorage? Let's put a pin on the map, partners. Now, back to the dust and the heat. "You're losing it, Pops," he'd said, voice sharp as barbed wire. "Memory care's the right call. You'll thank me." I hadn't thanked him. I'd argued, calm at first, then louder, until he yanked my keys, snatched my wallet for safekeeping, and told me to figure it out alone if I was so damn sharp. Then he was gone. No money, phone dead, just me, the cicadas, and the stubborn pride that got me through Chosin in 51. I sat on the bench outside the clinic doors, metal still hot from the day. A nurse offered water. I waved her off. I wasn't helpless, just stranded. That's when I saw her. She wandered across the asphalt like a ghost in a hospital gown, barefoot, gauze wrapped around her head like a crown gone wrong. Mid-60s, silver-streaked hair escaping in wisps, eyes wide, confused, but not empty. She clutched a small purse and muttered numbers under her breath. 87.4, 92.1. I stood. "Ma'am? You okay?" She blinked, focused on me like I'd materialized from thin air. "Do I know you?" "Harold Grant. You hurt?" She touched the bandage, winced theatrically. "Car accident. They say I don't remember anything. Not my name, not where I live." A pause. "But my ride is coming. Private car." She glanced around, then leaned in, voice dropping. "Play along. Pretend you're my husband. Your grandson, he left you here too, didn't he? He'll regret it." I almost laughed. The woman was clearly off her rocker, but something in her eyes, sharp, calculating, didn't match the act. And hell, I had nothing to lose. "All right, darling," I said, tipping an imaginary hat. "Lead the way." She smiled, sudden and bright, and slipped her arm through mine like we'd done it 1,000 times. 10 minutes later, a black Escalade with tinted windows rolled up smooth as sin. The driver, tall, black, suit crisp despite the heat, stepped out and opened the rear door. "Mrs. Beaumont," he said with a nod. "Sir." She climbed in without hesitation. I followed, duffel in lap. The door shut with a soft thunk, and the AC hit me like forgiveness. Inside smelled of leather and money. She settled beside me, patted my knee. "James, this is my husband, Harold. He's been waiting." James met my eyes in the rear view. "Of course, ma'am." No surprise. Just a twitch at the corner of his mouth like he'd seen this movie before. As we pulled onto the highway, she leaned close. "Lydia Beaumont," she murmured, "and I remember every damn thing." I stared. "Then what the—" "Shh!" She glanced at James, who was politely ignoring us. "Later. First, we make Caleb sweat." We drove east, past cedar brakes and oil pumps, nodding like old men. Lydia kept up the act, confused, sweet, occasionally squeezing my hand like a lifeline. But every time we passed a billboard with stock tickers or a muted TV in a gas station window, her lips moved silently, tracking numbers. I watched and remembered. Back in Korea, I'd been a code talker. Navajo boys got the glory, but the Army used Texas ranch kids too, mixing Spanish, Comanche, and West Texas drawl to fox the Chinese. I'd broken ciphers under fire with nothing but a pencil and a prayer. This woman was running a cipher of her own. We reached Houston at dusk, the skyline rising like a promise. The Escalade turned into the gates of a River Oaks mansion. Columns, live oaks, a fountain that probably cost more than my entire ranch. James opened the door. "Welcome home, Mrs. Beaumont." Lydia stepped out, barefoot no more. Somehow she'd slipped on delicate leather flats during the ride. She offered me her arm. "Shall we, dear?" Inside the house was quiet money. Hardwood floors, oil paintings of longhorns, a grand piano no one played. A housekeeper took one look at me and vanished. Lydia led me to a study lined with books and ledgers. She closed the door, leaned against it, and dropped the act. Harold Grant, Korean War, Purple Heart in your shirt pocket, ranch outside of Llano, widowed, one daughter deceased, one grandson who thinks you're losing your marbles. I sat heavily in the leather chair. "You ran a check on me." "James did, while you were counting oil pumps." She smiled, not kindly. "I've been watching Caleb for months. He's been sniffing around my estate, convincing my board I'm in decline. Today was his test run, dumping you to prove old folks can't manage alone." My jaw tightened. He's family. He's a vulture. But you broke codes at Chosin. I need that brain.
She handed me the glass. "I'm not amnesiac. I'm in hiding. My late husband's relatives want me declared incompetent so they can sell Beaumont oil to a Saudi consortium. I've been playing crazy to buy time, but I need an ally no one suspects." I sipped. The bourbon was older than Caleb. "And you picked me because you're invisible, and because you're angry." She sat across from me, eyes sharp. "Help me expose them. In return, I'll give you back your ranch, your dignity, and a front row seat when Caleb learns what regret really tastes like." I studied her. The bandage was gone now, revealing a small scar at her temple. Old, not fresh. Her hands were steady, manicured but calloused at the fingertips. A woman who'd worked land, not just inherited it. I raised my glass. "To invisible old fools." She clinked hers against it. "And the grandsons who will wish they'd never been born." The next week was a master class in deception. Lydia installed me in the guest wing, my husband's war buddy, she told the staff. To the world, I was a kindly vet humoring a confused heiress. In private, we worked. She showed me the ledgers, offshore accounts, forged medical reports, emails between Caleb and her nephew Victor plotting to declare her unfit. I decoded the patterns, dates, amounts, cryptic phrases that matched old Comanche weather signals I'd used in Korea. Victor's moving money through a shell in the Caymans, same pattern I saw in 51, hiding ammo shipments. Lydia nodded. And Caleb's feeding me my medical decline. He's been drugging my tea, mild sedatives, enough to make me slur, forget names, but I've been dumping it in the ficus. I grunted. Boy's dumber than a sack of hammers. We planned the reveal for the annual Beaumont Foundation Rodeo Gala. Black tie, big money, live stream statewide. Lydia would play her final act of confusion. I'd be her devoted husband, underestimated until the perfect moment. The night arrived, hot and electric. Reliance Stadium glittered under floodlights. Cowboys and Stetsons mingled with oil billionaires and tuxes. Caleb was there, smug in a new suit, whispering to Victor near the bar. Lydia arrived on my arm, barefoot again, gown slightly askew, murmuring numbers under her breath. Cameras flashed. "Mrs. Beaumont, how are you feeling?" a reporter shouted. She blinked, smiled vacantly. I had a cat once. Or was it a horse?" I patted her hand. "Easy, darling. Let's find our seats." We moved through the crowd. I spotted the muted TVs above the bar, stock tickers scrolling. Lydia's lips moved. 92.1, 95. Caleb approached, concern perfectly performed. "Pops, you shouldn't be here. Mrs. Beaumont needs rest." Lydia clutched my arm. "Who are you? Do I know you?" Caleb's smile faltered. Victor swooped in, all charm. "Aunt Lydia, let's get you home."
The lights dimmed. The MC announced the Foundation's literacy initiative. A video began, children reading, Beaumont oil rigs in the background. Then the screen glitched. My voice, calm, steady, filled the stadium. Ladies and gentlemen, what you about to see is a recording made over the past week. Pay close attention. The video shifted. Hidden camera footage of Caleb slipping powder into Lydia's teacup. Victor on the phone. Once she's declared incompetent, we sell to the Saudis. Splits 60-40. Emails, bank transfers. Lydia clear-eyed, dumping tea into plants. The crowd gasped. Caleb went white. Lydia stepped forward, gown suddenly perfect, voice ringing clear. I remember everything, including the day my nephew tried to poison me for profit. Security moved in. Victor bolted, but James blocked the exit. I took the mic and said, my grandson thought I was losing my mind. Turns out he was the one who lost his way. I looked straight at Caleb. You left me at a VA clinic with no wallet, no phone, no dignity. But you forgot one thing. Old soldiers don't forget. We just wait. The stadium erupted. Phones recorded. Hashtags exploded. Later, under the Alamo shadow, July 4th fireworks blooming red, white, and blue. Lydia and I stood on the plaza. Caleb had been arrested, Victor too. The Foundation was safe. The ranch was mine again, free and clear. Lydia slipped her hand in mine. You know, I really did have a cat once, and a horse, and a husband who'd have loved you. I chuckled. I reckon I'm a poor substitute. You're not. She turned to me, eyes soft in the firework glow. You saw me. Not the heiress, not the crazy lady. Me. I looked at the ring on her finger. Simple gold, engraved with a tiny longhorn. I'd given it to her that morning. Same way you saw me, I said. Not the forgotten vet, just Harold. Above us, the sky cracked open in light. Below, the Alamo stood silent witness to two old warriors who'd found their way home, not to ranches or mansions, but to each other. Sometimes the greatest victories aren't won on battlefields. Sometimes they begin at a dusty curb, with a lie, a code, and a woman who remembered everything.